the initial contact is a ghost, a slight brush against a translucent entity smaller than a human thumbnail. Investigators search for a predator, but the water is crystal clear. It has no jaw, no spine, no central nervous system. It is a gelatinous phantom, equipped with millions of sub-millimeter, pressure-triggered harpoons. From entities smaller than a thumbnail that hijack the human mind, to blind, drifting leviathans dragging 36 meters of execution wire through the freezing abyss. This is the anatomy of a cold-blooded crime scene. These autonomous delivery systems are brutally fragile. Lacking a skeleton or dense muscle tissue, a struggling prey would tear its body apart. To survive, they cannot afford a fight. Their neurotoxins must act with absolute, unmeasurable immediacy. When a human crosses their drift path, the resulting organ failure is not an intentional strike. It is merely a tragic side effect of a mechanism engineered to stop marine life in a fraction of a second.
Irukandji.
The escalation begins at the microscopic level, in the waters stretching from Australia to the Caribbean. The Irukandji bell measures barely 1 centimeter across, dragging meter-long, nearly invisible snare lines. When a small fish strikes these threads, the execution is instantaneous. The nervous system is severed from the muscles before the creature can even twitch. But when these chemicals are injected into a bigger life form, the timeline stretches into a biological nightmare. The initial sting registers as a minor irritation. For 20 to 30 minutes, a human victim remains completely functional, unaware of the breach. Then, the delayed systemic reaction hits. The toxin bypasses normal pain pathways and directly hacks the brain. It induces Irukandji syndrome, flooding the central nervous system with a chemical sensation of absolute, inescapable doom. This condition requires immediate medical intervention to prevent severe physical consequences, including fatal cardiac arrest. Applying vinegar neutralizes unfired nematocysts, preventing further venom injection before removal.
Box jellyfish.
While the Irukandji tortures the mind, the box jellyfish simply turns off the machine, primarily patrolling the shallow coastlines of the Indo-Pacific. It operates as the most venomous marine organism on the planet. Up to 30 tentacles, each trailing 3 meters long, create an invisible dragnet. Upon contact, these tentacles deploy venom-filled darts with ballistic velocity, attacking the nervous system and the heart simultaneously. The sheer toxicity defies logic. A fully grown human can experience complete cardiac arrest in under 5 minutes. Large fish and oceanic predators are chemically dismantled before they even register the strike. Far down the timeline, the evidence will reveal a massive syndicate of clones that continues to fire its weapons hours after washing ashore. But first, the sequence demands a look at a structural anomaly.
Flower hat jellyfish.
What happens when a mindless drifter stops floating and becomes an active, spring-loaded trap? Most gelatinous organisms are prisoners of the current. They drift, completely indifferent to their trajectory. But off the coasts of Brazil and Japan, the behavior shifts from passive floating to a calculated ambush. The flower hat jellyfish sinks to the ocean floor, a rigid, translucent vault marked with neon pinstripes, hiding in the shadows of the seabed. The tentacles do not trail lazily in the open water. They are coiled tight, compressed like a mechanical snare. When a target brushes the perimeter, the trap releases. The limbs spring outward, locking onto the victim and injecting a severe chemical payload. The venom induces rapid tissue necrosis, dissolving the contact points long before the victim ceases to struggle. Portuguese Man of War. The surface appears calm, but beneath the tension line, the water is saturated with primed ballistics. Riding the winds from Portugal to the Americas, a purple, gas-filled bladder floats in plain sight. Beneath it trails up to 30 meters of submerged execution wire. This entity is a deception. It is not a single organism. It is a syndicate of cloned biological machines, physically fused together to form a floating death trap. Each clone is assigned a specific mindless operational role. The tentacles deploy a venom dense enough to shut down small fish upon absolute contact, while inflicting severe, burning welts on anything larger. What makes this collective profoundly sinister is its refusal to power down. Driven blindly by wind and tide, mass strandings are inevitable. But biological death does not disarm the weapon. Long after the desiccated tentacles remain chemically active, a victim can trigger a devastating neurotoxic strike simply by touching the debris. But how does an organism orchestrate an execution event that wipes out entire commercial ecosystems overnight?
Mauve Stinger. A swarm alters the entire environment.
The Mauve Stinger is a compact organism drifting across global currents, glowing with a deceptive pink and purple bioluminescence under the surface. But its threat profile does not rely on individual strikes. It relies on overwhelming density. It forms massive aggregations, blooms that can stretch for unbroken kilometers, moving as a single toxic weather front. The individual sting triggers severe blistering and muscle spasms, but the true devastation operates on a literal industrial scale. In a documented event off the coast of Northern Ireland, a singular swarm drifted into a commercial salmon farm. The sheer volume of the venomous mass saturated the enclosed water column. 100,000 fish were eradicated overnight. The water bioluminesced, providing a brilliant, glowing backdrop to an absolute, unthinking biological massacre.
Nomura's jellyfish.
Drifting through the waters between China and Japan, Nomura's jellyfish abandons subtle neurotoxins for sheer, overwhelming weight. The bell expands up to 2 meters in diameter. A single entity weighs up to 200 kilograms. The scale of these organisms makes them a direct threat to maritime traffic. Their presence in the water column causes collisions with vessels and clogs essential machinery.
Cannonball Jellyfish.
Is it possible that a jellyfish could execute a cardiac strike across a wide perimeter without ever making physical contact? Most organisms require a physical breach to deliver their payload. The cannonball jellyfish eliminates the need for contact entirely. Found along the Atlantic and Gulf coasts, its compact, spherical bell suggests a harmless, passive drifter, but its defensive mechanism operates as an area of effect weapon. It secretes a highly toxic mucus directly into the surrounding water column, creating an invisible, suspended chemical halo. For marine life, simply passing through this contaminated perimeter is catastrophic. The dissolved toxins are engineered to trigger immediate cardiac arrhythmia in fish, shutting down their cardiovascular systems without a single tentacle ever grazing their scales. There is a dark irony in its life cycle. These terrifying mass murder aggregations are so dense, they are simply commercially harvested to end up as delicious food in Asian countries.
Lion's mane jellyfish.
The escalation of scale reaches its absolute peak with a biological leviathan. The bell alone expands to 2 meters across, but the true threat trails in the Arctic dark water beneath it. Over 36 meters of venomous execution wire. Thousands of tentacles sweeping the ocean, forming a dragnet longer than a blue whale. The physical bell is rarely seen by its victims. The venom triggers severe muscle cramps, systemic shock, and rapid suffocation in prey. And like the Man of War, its lethality is devastatingly persistent.
Fried egg jellyfish.
Expanding up to 60 centimeters with a trailing 6-meter network of tentacles, this Mediterranean giant is a visual deception. Despite its imposing scale, its chemical signature is negligible, barely registering as an irritant. It drifts as a harmless, oversized breakfast special, a literal sunny-side-up anomaly of the open sea. This lack of lethal pressure has transformed the organism into a mobile sanctuary. Its massive, ornate bell serves as a high-end estate for the vulnerable. Juvenile fish and crabs inhabit the stinging field as a permanent residence, utilizing the jellyfish as a drifting shield.